Holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
Welcome, everybody. It's Monday evening, and this is Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. I'm Jenny Gunther, also known as Jenny Almighty, and I am here with you as well for the next 2 hours. And we are so excited and privileged, honestly speaking, with one of the most knowledgeable and influential people in the natural health field. Dr. Carolyn Dean has been a medical doctor for, I don't know, longer than Moses has had dirt. And a naturopath who has been on the cutting edge of natural medicine revolution since 1979. She is the author or co-author of over 30 best-selling books, including Magnesium Miracle, Invisible Minerals, and all kinds of other wonderful deliciousness. And through her formulas and her persistent insistence that the body is perfect and we have all we need with a few basic building blocks to enjoy incredible health, vitality, and well-being, she has been inspiring many to take charge of their health, that come into the power of their beingness, and to live their lives to the fullest. So we welcome again this evening Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Thank you, Jenny. I don't know what to say, so I won't say anything. I will say thank you, and let's get to work. The mailbag is overflowing. There was so much I couldn't even send it to you, so we've got our work cut out for us today.
Very good. Well, we know that at the top of the hour, a couple things we like to do is just run through your blogs that you've done in case people have missed them. And also I want to say, because this has come up several times, that if you feel that you would be well served by a private consultation and not necessarily to be discussing your health conditions or the concerns that you have for your family members in a public forum, you can visit Dr. Carolyn Dean's website at drcarolyndean.com, and then on the page on the right-hand side, you'll see it says find out about a private consultation. So you can pursue that as well. So, Carolyn, I loved your blogs this week, and it was interesting because both of them had a lot to do with anxiety and the state of mind. And I'd like you to talk about those a little bit. I know you were part of the Anxiety Summit, and you said that was a great success. So let's talk about those a little bit, and then we'll hit our calls and our mailbag.
And I have to tell you again, Ginny, there is feedback. I think maybe your line.
Yeah, you've got all these weird sounds in your line, too, like somebody's raking leaves or something. I'm on my cell phone, so I'll try a different phone and see if that changes.
Yeah, and I'll get Bob to make sure he's muted. I think he might have. All right, he went on Bob, you went on a different line, and that may be feedback. About is my last couple of posts where you see my blog posts. if you want to get my blogs directly, I'm sure most of you listening know that you can sign up on my drcarolyndean.com website. Go down on the right side beyond the products and see the little box saying subscribe to my wellness tips from the future. And you just enter your email and sign up for these free newsletters. And the blogs this week were about the Anxiety Summit. I think it's over now. I was part of the Encore Summit where I guess there were enough positive strokes on my interview that they repeated it. And I guess what really struck me about the Anxiety Summit was the overwhelming response, people signing up for my newsletter by the thousands and being interested in my blog and in the RNA Reset website. And it just seems to me that there are a heck of a lot of people suffering anxiety, and it's something that it's not visible. People who are extremely anxious and have panic attacks and even have agoraphobia, they just don't go out in public, and you can't really tell when someone is having a panic attack or anxiety. And I've been finding lately that most of the people that come to me for consultations, anxiety is one of their symptoms. And I have to say that as soon as people get saturated with magnesium, their anxiety diminishes or even is completely removed. One of the testimonials I mentioned in a recent blog is that someone actually said that it brought back their will to live by taking REMAG. But let me go to this business of saturating with magnesium. Someone did ask, well, what do you mean by saturating? And, of course, when I have a client, I'm able to talk about this, and it's something that I do talk about in the REMAG book, which is Invisible Minerals Part 1. Under the FAQs at RNA Reset. I do talk about it on the Magnesium Miracle book, too, and a lot of my my blogs. But it means taking enough magnesium so that your symptoms are relieved, your magnesium RBC blood test is up to optimum levels. Again, you can read about that in the REMAG book, and you just feel better on all levels. I don't like people just to be on high-dose magnesium without sea salt in the water, without taking their Relight. And if you feel like you're taking high doses of magnesium and you've gotten better and then all of a sudden you start getting worse, then cut back on your magnesium. You really have to use some intuition about your health because I really can't consult with everybody that asks for a consultation, and I seem to be one of the few people who really understands about the whole magnesium picture, and the only person that is working on REMAG and how to apply it. So that's why we're doing the radio show. That's why I write so much, to try to educate people and try to have people take responsibility for their health. And I think, we're doing a pretty good job of it because we've got so many positive testimonials. But, I want to hear from people when they are having problems on, with the directions I've given, or they think they've come up with a new wrinkle in how magnesium or REMAG works. So that's where I direct you to the blog. Keep reading, keep coming to the radio show so we can all learn together about how to work with magnesium. So I'm sure Ginny's back by now. Any comments?
Yes, I'm here. Well, one of the comments I have too, Carolyn, is that the RNA drops are fantastic for agitation and for the same kind of, especially when people's form of anxiety gets into limiting patterns and beliefs where they kind of get into hopelessness and despair, just don't even know why they are, alive type of a thing. So the RNA drops are fantastic as well to work with. They work on different levels. I mean, I think that the RNA drops definitely work different than the magnesium. But everything that we do is going to elevate the mind space, don't you think?
Yes, and that's where over the past while we've actually begun to talk about the whole complement formula set of products, and not just one, not just RNA drops, not just Remag. And actually that brings up our first mailbag comment where someone said, when I get my magnesium levels where they should be in my body, is it possible that my sex drive will increase? Right now it's about 0. So for that, I say yes, there's Remag and the RNA drops too. They together, they really seem to help. And then the Relight, because the Relight works on the hormones. And one thing I remind people of is that when you're tired, stressed, under attack, sex, brackets, procreation, is put on the back burner because it's not part of the survival instinct. To have sex makes you vulnerable. To start procreating in the middle of major stress is not a survival tactic. So if you don't have libido, and you think it's just psychological, well, look again, because if you're under major stress, it's just part of the survival instinct that it's not something that comes to mind. So let's get you healthy first, and then your sex drive will come back.
Very good. Perfect words, Carolyn. Very nice. Very nice. Awesome. Yes, and I think that's perfect to say also, too, about all the complement formulas. We got an inquiry from a listener who's listening this evening, says, Patsy in Florida, my boyfriend of 2 years broke up with me last week because he said I don't understand depression and anxiety after we had a strong argument. He's right. I don't understand it, and I want this relationship back. He is a lovely man, and I do love him. How can I help him? And how can I save our relationship?
Well,
so that's a new level of taking it into the advice for the lovelorn.
Yeah. Well, this is where listening to the Anxiety Summit would have helped, or even the last 2 blogs where I talk about this, where this woman who gave her testimonial about, she says, I think magnesium turned off the will to die, because it removed the faulty wiring caused by, she said, traumatic brain injuries. And she said anxiety was worse for her than depression. But obviously I would put your boyfriend on the complement formulas, because that will treat on the physical level, and the RNA drops will treat on the emotional, spiritual level. And to understand it, yes, it is difficult. I remember saying to someone I was only depressed one day in my life when a young 16-year-old patient of mine was killed by a hit-and-run drunk driver. So it's something that a lot of us don't experience, and it is difficult to empathize. We just think people aren't pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, and it's difficult too, because when someone is, you can't be light and bubbly and cheery and telling jokes, because it seems like an insult to them. So the best thing to do is give them the gift of the complement formulas and watch them get better.
And specifically, Carolyn, on the Remag and Relight, I mean, there are so many different factors. I mean, I even know from reading up on some of this stuff that they say that yeast overgrowth and certainly gut issues can create challenges in the mind because of the way the stomach and the brain are involved, and we're just such a complex biological system. Quickly, can you say, what does magnesium do for the mind, the brain itself?
Well, magnesium and all the complement formulas. For example, someone said to me, I think it was on payday, or maybe it was the bill show after payday, they said, well, they think gluten may be causing their symptoms. Wouldn't that be a cause of anxiety and depression, and shouldn't we be all avoiding gluten? Well, the fact of the matter is the RNA drops are made from a gluten grain, barley, and in the process that makes the RNA drops, the gluten is digested, it disappears. So it's perhaps going to do the same thing in your body, is help you deal with the gluten. Magnesium helps in all the different pathways that help digest sugars and help digest carbohydrates. So I still say start with the complement formulas, and as a person is starting to feel 10, 20, 25% better, then they might have the energy to change their diet a bit. But if you hit someone over the head who's paralyzed with depression and anxiety and tell them to be strict about their diet and they have to exercise and they have to do this and have to do that, they'll just give up before they even start. So that's why I always say start with something that you know it's going to work on some level. And that is Mailbag. As soon as they start feeling better, it's, oh, well, maybe I should take Relight, and I want to try the RNA drops. They start waking up to the world, and they might say, well, I find every time I have that, morning breakfast with all those, the bread and bagels and all the rest of it, I feel horrible the next day. And you see, you start making connections. You start being more aware of your world, and you start making these associations and say, well, maybe I should just stop eating that for a while. And as your body builds and then is able to digest and take care of things and not be so excited about certain foods, then even the allergies disappear. So it's, I still think there's a basic way to begin and not overload someone with too much. I remember the IBS for Dummies book. My sister and I wrote it, and we talk about just the dozens of things that can trigger or cause irritable bowel syndrome. And there was some gentleman wrote in an Amazon review and said this book is ridiculous because everything can cause IBS. So it's, and that kind of overloaded him. Instead of looking at it one step at a time, like avoid the most obvious things first, and then if that doesn't work, then look at other things. But yeah, this is where with the complement formulas, we really have created a system that is so easy to follow and is extremely effective.
Right, and I think you brought up some really good points, Carolyn, as you always do, but the one of which is that if you're in any level of survival physically, whether that's emotional, mental, or whatever, and your body isn't in balance, it's going to be difficult for you to get into more of a creative process of deciding, like you said, making better food choices or having crazy sex or whatever. You've got to get your body into balance, get it healthy, build your strength, your endurance, so on and so forth. And then you'll, as you continue to want to feel good, then that will just keep going, and people will continue to do better. I think that's very, very cool the way you laid that all out. Very good. All right, welcome. Well, everybody, again, we're here live with Dr. Carolyn Dean on achieveradio.com for the next 2 hours. Carolyn will be talking to our listening audience through our phone lines as well as taking calls through our mailbag, which has now become very prolific. I'm very grateful for all of our listeners who've realized they can email us ahead of time, although sometimes 5 minutes before the show is not the best time, but we'll continue to work it all out. So again, just a couple quick things. The phone lines are open if you'd like to call and talk with Dr. Dean, 602-666-6027. That's 602-666-6027. You'll call into the station, and once you get into the conference call, your phone will be put on mute so we don't pick up background noise. If you hit *5 on your keypad, that will wave your hand and let me know that you have a question or comment. I'll put you on the phone with Dr. Dean. If you'd like to use our InQuick messaging system, as some of our listeners already have this evening, that is going to Achieve Radio. On the right-hand side of Studio A, you'll see down where it says InQuick Message. You just type in your name, the security code, and your question. We'll read it off to Carolyn, and she'll respond. And, of course, if you're listening to the archive, you can email support, SUPPORT, at RNA Reset for next week's show with any questions you may have. So, Carolyn, we've got a couple waving hands, a caller or two, and then we can launch off into our mailbag if you'd like.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, very good. So we'll go to California, area code 650. 650, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hi, it's Lisa back in California. How are you, both of you?
Oh, great. Welcome back. You survived. I heard that over yonder it was even more polluted than usual in Beijing.
Yeah, Beijing is horrible. Fortunately, we didn't have to go there this time.
Oh, okay. Oh, I blew it. Okay, so tell us how you're doing and what can we help you with today?
Well, you know, I've been using your products since you've launched, and I'm very strict about it, and I take everything like I'm supposed to take. At least I think so. And one of the changes that has been remarkable for me, I wanted to let you know, is I have this like fearlessness now, and I am like so wanting to try things that I probably would have never tried in the past. So that part of it has been quite exciting. Thought I'd pass that along. But I wanted to ask you, one of the reasons why I started to take it was panic attacks and anxiety. It's funny that you're talking about this today. And I have found them starting to creep back in. Not often, but a few times. And I mean, looking back, I could probably attribute it to the situation I was in, possibly. But I was it's just weird to have them when I'm, religious about taking all the formulas.
Right, yes. It's, what happens is they can be a learned behavior. Like someone crosses a bridge when their blood sugar falls and their adrenaline comes out to push their blood sugar up, but it also makes them have a feeling of adrenaline, and their heart will beat a bit, and they're already on a bridge, they're driving, and then all of a sudden they feel anxious. So not knowing it's a blood sugar reaction, people will say, oh, here comes a bridge. I had an anxiety attack when I went over the bridge before, so I hope I don't. And they keep, talking about in their head that they don't want to get the attack, which can tend to bring it on. So the other aspect of it is that when a person has an anxiety attack and survives it, there's some part of the brain that says, oh, maybe I survived it because I had the anxiety attack. Maybe it made me more conscious or aware or more alert. So there can be an emotion that makes a person feel that it helped them survive. So what happens in the future, you come across a situation that seems like, this happened before, and you can mimic the situation with another panic attack, or you can allow the panic attack to happen because it allowed you to survive before, so it ends up being your coping mechanism. So with some people, if they start surfacing again, especially if you've gotten your magnesium RBC test and you know you're saturated, you know you're not draining your magnesium, you're taking your, for people who are still getting symptoms, it is 2 or 3 teaspoons a day, taking your sea salt, taking your Relight. Well, if all that's being done and you're still having, or these symptoms start coming back, then you kind of have to start looking at the cyclic nature. What triggered me? You have, kind of open up those past things. Something's coming to the surface that your body wants to look at. With my clients, I'll get them maybe to do a diary or just do some meditation or talk to their partner about it, or talk to a good person like a total biology practitioner. You can also do the Bach flower remedy called walnut, which is the link breaker with the past. I get people to listen to the song, the Italian opera, It's Time to Say Goodbye, to try to break links with the past. So the body is not just a physical representation where we're taking our minerals, etc. It might be time to take even more RNA drops to work
Carolyn,
on the deeper level.
I got a pattern here. I noticed we'd been on the drops for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Well, we've been on, three or more, almost 4 years this week. We'll be on it. And at about the third year point, when I had a little thing come up, I would say, ignore that. He would start to bring in the ignoring what's happening. Now, you begin on your path of health ascension by noticing your body, and that's the first phase, and noticing everything, because you haven't been noticing anything. You haven't been very sensitive. So you do this sensitivity thing for a few years, and you apply the completement formulas, and you get better. And like Lisa, she got pretty good. She's even getting into the real deep parts of her being where she's got this, invincibleness. That's coming in. That's what happens with the drops. But then your mind or something will create contrast. And just to check, because you'll get so used to being invincible, Lisa, you'll want to know, how invincible I am. So you give yourself a little test. And Ian says this is a natural part of being, is the creating contrast so you know where you've been or how good you've been doing. And so at that point, you ignore the game. You ignore the sensitivity of your body. I found this has worked a lot. If I get an ache, if I just forget about it, try to forget about it, and often do, it goes away. So the new principle is when you get really healthy, you start not being so neurotically sensitive to your body. That's my new idea. What do you think of that, Lisa?
Yeah, all this is very helpful. I know definitely part of it is my mind playing with me.
Yep.
But
that's
I
the
guess,
thing.
Right,
when you
so
understand
Go ahead,
what?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. When you understand and contrast is part of life, because Ian says it's like the tides that go in and out. You always want to know where you are. That's why you quote, go to sleep. You go to another world so you can see the world you've been in and you've gotten numb to, so you go to another world. The being objects to being in one state for a long time. So if you're feeling blissed out or pretty confident, and then you'll start to get indifferent to it. So then you want to wake yourself up to it so you'll make some contrast. That seems to be the most natural part of being. That I've learned with Ion.
Okay, Lisa, do you have a comment?
No, that's helpful. If I can, I think for me the issue is, I know when you talk about meditating, if I find that when I try to calm myself down through meditating or through breathing, I actually make the panic attack worse. So I gather I just need to work through this. I wanted to see what your thoughts were, and all those ideas were very helpful, and I'm going to look into doing them. I just wanted to make sure I shouldn't add any more, supplements or whatnot. And it is kind of frustrating when you do feel invincible, and then all of a sudden it's like wham, and now you're ready to have a straitjacket on and be thrown into a cell,
Yeah, because that brings up what you went through before. But yeah, Bob's right. Try to ignore it, and that's where you kind of take action and use that energy from the anxiety to do something rather than if sitting and meditating didn't work, then do the opposite.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, keep us posted because I'm sure other people will go through this type of cycling, and we have had people who'll phone up or write and say, I was okay for a year and all of a sudden nothing's working, you know, and when you're saying that it's all about what supplements you're taking and not taking responsibility for your own life and contrast and how, as Bob says, we just go ahead and keep creating contrast for ourselves to know that we're human, then, you know, it's taking responsibility for just going through a new cycle and just moving through it. As long as you're not bleeding out, you know, for which you go to the doctor and all that, the best advice is to just observe.
And nip it in the bud. And that's why Ian says the contrast grows strangely dim, because what appears to be contrast, you then interpret it as positive because it's making you aware of what you had. So you appreciate the little contrast.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Anything else, Lisa?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, beautiful. Thanks for calling in. Love hearing from you.
Thanks. I love listening to the show.
Very, very good. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Very good, very good. Carolyn, now you're saying it. No, I have a whole list here. Incredible, wonderful, passionate, fantastic. All right, we're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Let's go to our next caller, area code 732. We're in New Jersey. You're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could state your name. And then
Hi, it's Michael. Hi, it's Michael. How are you?
Hi, Michael. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been on the drops for 18 months, and religiously, and I really love them, and they've had a major impact on me. But I can relate to what Bob has been saying about they make you much more tactile, and I had a great experience of that over the last couple of weeks.
Tell us.
Let me just say that last Wednesday in New Jersey, I went to a alchemy crystal ball meditation, and it was like so amazing, and I could feel like the impact of the audio waves on my body, similar to acupressure. No, acupuncture. I'm sorry, acupuncture, where the meridians open, you can feel energy move around. That was last Wednesday, and then on Saturday I went to another one, and it was just regular crystal balls, and I can feel the intensity of the waves of the ball chime, and I realized that at some point it became discomforting. Then
right.
I started to think about, well, how sensitive I can become to that discomfort, and how I can open up my senses even more. And I went like as far as I could, and it proved to me that the sensitivities that are induced by the drops have no limit, and that was really, really interesting.
Now say that sentence again. You proved that something about sensitivity to the drops.
From being on the drops, that the ability to have sensual perception is unlimited. Because it applies to music, it applies to food, it applies to working on projects, to thinking about like complex software, and it's so amazing. So
because you felt that you could go deeply into that uncomfortable experience. It was kind of under your control.
No, it was more than that, because I could feel the waves, and like Ion has on a number of occasions, especially like on Saturday, they were talking about the aptitude of the wave and the frequency, and I felt that in real life on Saturday, and it was pretty amazing. And my whole body, it felt like my body was just like so taut at that moment and I just felt so good. And the image came back of trying to think about when in my past life that had occurred. And I'd say it was when I was 11 years old. I kind of felt that physical, mental, and I guess psychological element, and that was pretty amazing.
Oh, interesting.
So, thank you.
Great. Well, thank you.
Hey, Michael, I have something to supplement this with. If you haven't listened to Payday a couple days ago, all right, did you hear our interview with Ruth Saturday night?
I just downloaded everything this morning. I only went through segment 1900.
Okay, so in the next hour, second hour, third hour, we bring Ruth on, who's an extraordinary case of proof that the drops work on way more than just the chemistry. Now, she's a person who had a private session 3 years ago, and I pointed out to her that some of the weird anomalies was happening is because she lives a bit ahead of everybody. She's a little ahead, her tempo or something. Okay, so then she started taking the drops. And, of course, the living ahead became even more extreme to the point she went to the Department of Motor Vehicles to get her new license, and the fingerprint machine could not register her fingerprints because she was, quote, not there. She was ahead of that action in the post office or wherever it is. Okay?
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, then she cites the next instance. She goes to the hospital, and she knows her blood's probably been changed, so he doesn't want them to look at her blood. She states, I'm not going to let them do a blood test. Well, when she gets in there, and she seems to be a quiet person, and they actually said, no, we're going to do your blood. So she didn't make a big resistance. Well, they couldn't get the blood out of her body. And they went nuts.
Wow.
They tried this, they tried that. They bring in the administrators, said, we got a mutant here. We can't get, whatever they do, stick the needle in. They couldn't get the blood out. Okay. So they then said, we need to observe you. And they had a woman assigned to photograph her for 3 months to keep her under observation. And we found out from ION that they were doing that to figure out, is this an alien? What is this thing here? And she just accepted it. And she has a few other photographs when they take pictures of her. There's nothing on the camera. So the fact that she was a bit ahead was enhanced greatly by the RNA drops, so all this other stuff was happening. And then she understood it once she talked to us, and it got explained. But that's an example, the latest great example of the drops working on more than your minerals. You see what I'm saying?
It's Bob and Carolyn and Jenny. It's remarkable. I had a cavity. I started on the drops in April of 13, and I had a cavity seal, but I knew it was there in April, and it sealed up in September of 13. Right?
Yeah, we cite that story all the time. So that's you, Michael. So we have a name to put with it. Michael of New Jersey had that experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So
great. There are probably many others as well, but yeah. What else can we say about that? So what Lisa was saying earlier about going back into some of the panic and anxiety, that may be her just looking at that as a bit, let's see if I can push up against that and what can I learn from it. And so instead of getting pulled into it as a person used to, they can just realize they can kind of manipulate it.
Yeah, and believe me, there was some level of anxiety during both bowl sessions, but then that allowed a deeper opening of the senses, because with the drops and with the magnesium, I feel so good, and I'm so happy that there was no chance that type of experience would have a negative impact on me, and it just
you can take a little pain. You can take a little pain.
Yeah, the contrast that you were talking about, but the contrast allowed the lotus to open or whatever analogy you like.
Right. Yeah, I think some people have even, I think I forget sometimes that, hey, I'm on these RNA drops. That's why I can do everything, and why I can do a half a dozen jobs and they all get done in an instant, because that's what I value.
Yeah, and there's like, at one point you would get angst attack or a panic attack when you had to do a task, and now it's just like, I'll just do it, and it's more of a fun thing rather than a burdensome thing, so I can agree with you there.
Right. Very good. Yes, it's great because we don't speak about the RNA drops enough. There are so many people reading that Magnesium Miracle book and listening to my talks about magnesium. I don't get to talk about RNA drops enough. So this is great, Michael. You bringing this up and just reminding people that we do have something here.
Yeah, and typically I'll take like a squirt, like about an inch squirt out of the eyedropper about 5-6 times a day whenever I think about after like urinating, so it doesn't get wasted. And that's pretty helpful with the salt and the water.
That's huge.
Great products.
Thank you. And thanks a lot for calling in. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Nice speaking with you. Thanks and I can't wait for your new release.
All right. The Magnesium water, and then we'll have the bread of life. Yeah, it's on to the food, which is how this all began, was to make a pure water source. So, yeah, we're back to the beginning.
When do you have any time frame for the release of those products?
Well, Bob claims that he's going to be drinking it by Christmas, but we'll see if it's him or if it's
No, we're on schedule, and I think people will be drinking it in January. You know, we mail it out around Christmas, and it goes through the mail glut. I said by Christmas, and all things seem to be pointing to that.
Yeah. Hey, Bob, would you mind at some point at your leisure giving me a call?
Email me at ion@howionic.com, your phone. I can call you later today, probably.
Okay, great. Ion@howionic.com. Great.
Yeah, howionic, yep. Okay, good.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Michael.
Okay, that was fun. All right, we're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com. Still taking live callers if you're on the phone at 602-666-6027. You can raise your hand, and we'll continue to take calls in this hour and the next, as well as reviewing our mailbag from our listeners who are writing in their questions to Dr. Dean. If you also are listening through Achieve Radio and have a question, like Audrey in Alberta, we will take your questions through our in-quick messaging system as well. So we'll take Audrey's question quickly, Carolyn. Hi, Dr. Dean. Do you have any suggestions on how to assist someone to quit smoking? I am on all the complement formulas for a couple of years now. I am thinking it must be my mind that keeps me trapped smoking a package a day.
Right. I guess what some of the people who've taken the RNA drops would say is that they lost their taste for cigarettes when they began taking it, or they cut back, or they just felt that it was no big deal, and they knew the smoking wasn't going to hurt them in any way. But in my encyclopedia, what's it called? Future Health Now Encyclopedia. I have a section on addictions, and one of them is smoking, and I'm just turning to it right now to see if I can give you some of the advice that I have here. What I've told people is to get a natural tobacco. In the U.S., I don't know about in Canada, there's something called natural spirit. See, most tobaccos have so many preservatives and additives and addictive substances that they can be affecting a person. Tobacco, for example, is cured with sugar, and you're kind of addicted to that sweetness of it. And so that adds to the cravings. It's like they match a sugar craving with a tobacco craving. There's a diet, plenty pure water to flush out the toxins, and you put your sea salt in it. The supplements, of course, magnesium, you're on the Relight, the Grown by Nature B's and C's, RNA drops for sure, Realign for detoxing. In homeopathy, there's a couple things you can get to try to kind of remind your body that you want to detox this stuff out of your system, because what happens with trying to quit is all the tobacco chemicals, nicotine, etc. They're stored in fat cells. When you quit smoking, those have a chance of being eliminated and detoxified. When those chemicals get in your bloodstream, they give you the craving back for tobacco. So the remedies that I found helpful are Caladium, Caladium 12X, nicotine 12X, Tabac, Tabac 12X, or Calc-Phos, PHOS. It's a calcaria phosphate 12X for the bronchitis, the cough that you get trying to clear. Herbs such as lobelia, Avena sativa, fenugreek CT, acupuncture can be very useful. And so you can find all this in my book, Future Health Now Encyclopedia. It's a Kindle on Amazon or a PDF on my website.
Very good. I will also add that everybody in our household has definitely stopped using tobacco, so it does work with the complement formulas. I attribute mine to the drops and the changing of your mind. You can definitely just relax and allow and trust that your body will decide it does not desire it any longer at some point. And just to keep your realigned and everything going, because it'll keep the toxins at bay. So just don't give it a lot of attention. It'll stop. It'll go away. Yeah. Just like Bob says, don't give it a lot of attention. Yep. All right, we're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. No waving hands. Carolyn, let's do the mailbag.
Oh, yes. I love the mailbag. The magnesium I'm taking does not seem to help my anxiety anymore. I really have no clue if I'm even taking the right kind of magnesium. Can I take your Remag alone, or do I need to combine it with other things for it to work for anxiety? So the answer there, of course, is yeah. Remag is definitely going to help the situation. But I would, for the anxiety, it can be just magnesium alone. I would start there, but if a person can afford to use the Relight as well, that will add benefits, and also the sea salt and water. It really is incredible how many people have said that their anxieties have benefited considerably. So yes, Remag alone can do it. Someone wrote in a quick little burst here and said, I think your information regarding magnesium and other minerals may be about to save 4 lives in our family. Thank you. This person says, I'm just offering a plain thank you. Oh, yeah. Just offering a plain thank you is insane, but here it is anyway. Thank you, in big letters. Yeah, it is pretty amazing that things are saving lives. Someone asked about Meniere's. Meniere's is a type of deafness condition where a part of the ear canal, as they say here, in the inner ear, an area that regulates the balance of fluid. And sometimes tiny stones in the ear seem to undergo a chemical change from calcium carbonate to calcium phosphate and then roll around in the fluid, leading to loss of balance and hearing problems. The cause of the calcification is unknown. There is no cure. This is what is said about Meniere's. And of course, when I hear, those are fighting words to me. So of course I immediately say you've got to get your magnesium in there to balance out this excess calcium. And people can take it by mouth. They can take Remag in drops and just lie on one side, drop Remag into your ear that's your raised ear that's exposed, and leave the Remag there for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then roll over on a piece of paper toweling. The liquid will come out and do the other ear, and really get the magnesium entering the tissues there to dissolve calcium. I don't know if it's a cure, but it absolutely would be no harm in trying that. And this person said that salt for her was not, she couldn't put salt in her water. Well, start with the magnesium, and maybe it was just plain salt she was using. I said, well, make sure it's sea salt. Some people don't really think that there can be a difference in. There was some feedback on the NPR site where on People's Pharmacy they have my show up on internet for, it's 2 weeks after last Monday. So for another week they have the show up there for free, and there were some comments and commenting that it's a great show, but then kind of a negative comment that Dr. Dean talked about REMAG, and the NPR is supposed to be non-commercial, I guess, so they didn't like the fact that I was talking about REMAG. But in a half an hour, I don't have a chance to talk about everything. If someone asks me about, well, what is the best magnesium, I'm definitely going to say REMAG is. And I guess the comment I should have said on the website was cheap magnesium can give you cheap results. And I've had people, there was a feedback, a Facebook feedback where someone was asking me about I think it's a good state magnesium, where it seems to be a kind of knockoff to mine. And they've got fulvic acid in it. It's weaker than mine, and someone said on, I think it's my page, that they sent people to look for REMAG. They went looking for something cheaper and took this other product and ended up getting the laxative effect badly, and it scared them off taking any magnesium. And that's part of the problem with magnesium, is people don't understand that if it's not well absorbed, it is going to cause the laxative effect, and that's more of a fail-safe than a side effect. Someone else here, I better skip, that's a long one. Thank you so much for this post. It was the anxiety post, and the person says, my God, I think I found the missing link. I take powdered magnesium chloride and water before bed. However, I've noticed that during the day I sometimes seem to need more. I suffer from crippling, paralyzing anxiety and depression, and the writer describes it expertly. This is the person's testimonial where she says she got her will to live back with magnesium or with REMAG. And she says it's something you can't imagine unless you've experienced it. But this writer has managed to capture it in words. Well done. I will try taking my magnesium and water during the day as described and see how it goes. And, of course, I told her, well, it would be great if you could take REMAG, because then I'd know you were really getting it absorbed properly and getting the proper amounts. Another person said, Doctor, I was wondering if magnesium affects our GABA receptors. I read that in benzodiazepine withdrawal, magnesium can cause withdrawal symptoms as it affects GABA. And I said, that statement makes no sense. Body functions have to make sense. Magnesium is more likely to support GABA and help benzo withdrawal, which is my experience with clients. And see, that's the type of thing that will go through the internet, and people will start looking for negative comments about magnesium. And when you hear someone say, benzo withdrawal, in benzo withdrawal, magnesium can cause withdrawal symptoms as it affects GABA, what can be happening there is, like I write in the blog, when magnesium makes me worse. If you're doing magnesium and getting it into your cells, it is going to kick out the drugs, including benzodiazepines, and make you think you're having more symptoms. And that's where anybody on medication, I even have it on the Remag label, you have to go slowly with Remag and with other magnesiums. So I think we're almost up to the hour. Did you want me to have one more mailbag, Ginny?
One more mailbag, and then we'll break for a few minutes and come back. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Okay, then it's, I'm hoping magnesium will help me with anxiety, adrenaline surges, especially dizziness from terrible panic attacks, and being 7 months off lorazepam. I wish I never would have taken those, as they make the anxiety and nightmares so much worse. What makes me frustrated, I never abused them. I only took them once every couple of days. I hope magnesium will help, though I find small doses of 250 milligrams of magnesium gives me stomach cramps. So again, people are trying to medicate themselves, but the Remag will definitely help, and that's something that people should understand, that even if you're just taking low dose benzodiazepam, you can get addicted to them. So there.
Very good. We're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. Hour 2 is coming up. Thanks, everybody who's called in so far. And, of course, another hour of callers and mailbag and your questions, including Nancy from Portland and, of course, our good friend from Brian in Boston, Massachusetts. If you're listening live, 602-666-6027 is the number to call. We'll be right back after this quick break and the musical interlude from our good friend David Neufeld.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio. Welcome back, everybody. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Hour 2 of our program this evening, and do want to acknowledge the musical composer and producer of that piece is our good friend David Neufeld, a Canadian-born producer and quite an accomplished musician and so on and so forth. So thank you, David, for that music. Welcome back, Carolyn.
Welcome back, Ginny. I'm just fighting to open a parcel here, but I guess I better step away and come back to you. Okay, I'm back.
There's our multitasking Carolyn, everybody.
Okay, what have we got in front of us now?
Okay, so let's see. We've got a couple in quick messages. Brian in Boston, Massachusetts, who I would love to have call in sometime, Brian. You should pick up the phone and call in. He's a very good in quick message contributor. Wants to know, is spinal stenosis due to an accumulation of calcium?
I think it is. Let's look it up and see. Spinal stenosis and causes. Let's look up causes. Yeah, it's a condition where the spine in the fluid. What's it called? The spine trapped in the fluid up the back, where you do a lumbar puncture into. I don't even know what it's called. And I'm going to look up calcium. And they're not saying. Nope, they don't even have calcium here. They're just saying can include anything from an inherited narrowness within the spine's channels and openings to age-related degeneration, such as osteoarthritis, degenerative disc disease, that significantly reduces strength and stability. So that's interesting. I haven't looked this up lately. A narrowing within the spinal canal or other spinal openings. So when they're talking about it being osteoarthritis or degenerative disc disease, well, both of them are calcium imbalances. And I have heard that spinal stenosis symptoms or diagnosis is increasing. So it's likely to do with the calcification of our population. I've talked about that a lot, where women who take calcium supplements are subject to higher incidence of heart disease and gallstones, kidney stones, breast tissue calcification, etc. So it's quite possible, but when it's really well along in its trajectory, I'm not going to be able to say that you can take some Remag and it'll go away, but I definitely tell people to take Remag, go in Epsom salts baths, spray Remag on their backs and work with it in that way, because it's got to do with the bones, and with not enough magnesium and therefore relatively too much calcium, then the bones are just going to deteriorate and possibly lead to this spinal stenosis. But then again, not everybody gets it, so it's not like, if you're low in magnesium and take calcium, that everybody's going to get spinal stenosis. That's what's interesting about humans, is we have areas where we're more vulnerable, or our minds make us more vulnerable in one area than another. And that's where also total biology comes in, where the body's actually trying to solve a problem, sort of a stress, conflict, worry problem, by putting symptoms into the physical body that then we diagnose and interpret as disease. So those were a lot of words, and the final word is yes, spinal stenosis seems to be related to calcium buildup and a lack of magnesium. And of course, I'd say, as I do with my clients and patients, that the vitamin D, vitamin K2, vitamin A that you take to help direct calcium properly to the bones and put it in the proper conformation along with magnesium, that's the Blue Ice Royal that I recommend from Green Pastures.
Yes, very good. That's an excellent product. I use it. I enjoy it. Brian writes back in and says, I had this condition and it produced a foot drop to my right foot. which is greatly improved. Very good. Very good. Yeah.
Do you want to say that again so I can take note of it? I missed a bit of that.
Sure. He said, I had this condition, which was the spinal stenosis, and it said it produced a foot drop to my right foot, which is now greatly improved. So I think that's very fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Good.
There goes the complement formulas again, just erasing and switching out and just fixing everything. It's wonderful. Nancy in Portland emails in, hi, Carolyn, you've mentioned tinnitus in yourself before. Has that subject come up on these broadcasts much? If someone has had it for years and is now deaf and uses high-cost hearing aids, is 75 years old, would he have any hope of betterment on these products? I have not checked the archives yet, but I thought I would ask today and see what you said, and then check out the archive material. Thank you.
Yes, we've had a number of people talk about their hearing improved and tinnitus improved. Everybody's different, though. This is what is impossible to say with, especially the RNA drops. We just don't know how it's going to work on each individual. It's almost like the layers that have to be, that the body wants to work on may not be what you want to work on. If you give the RNA drops to someone with tinnitus and hearing aid deafness, well, it may work on the prostate first and then go to the liver and do a number of other things before it gets to the tinnitus. So check on the archives, drcarolyndeanlive.com, and just type in tinnitus and see what comes up.
We do have a couple testimonials on there. That seems to be something that in the beginning when we were doing our sample bottles, Carolyn, we got a lot of response on, and I attributed it to the change in frequency. You know, the RNA drops have a frequency. I think it does maybe make some correction there. I don't know. But there are definitely testimonials, Nancy, on the Dr. Carolyn Dean Live website. Definitely.
Very good.
Yep. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com about 10 minutes after the hour. Again, lines are open if you have a question, you'd like to talk to Carolyn directly, which is always such a wonderful thing to do, everybody, just so you know. 602-666-6027 is the phone number. You can call in and speak directly to her. 602-666-6027. When you get on the phone, you'll hit *5 on your keypad. That will wave your hand and let me know you have something to share or say. And in the meantime, in the absence of compelling, fascinating callers, we press on to our mailbag and continue to answer questions, Carolyn.
Okay, very good. Let me just move there. Actually, I did all the questions from this past week, but there was a whole herd of them we didn't get to last week. It was actually a continuation from an email from last week, and this person was saying that should she have her cardiologist prescribe another non-calcium channel blocking drug. So what, I guess the way I answered this person, and it's a client of mine, I was just saying, well, if you continue to take the magnesium, keep on the drug you're on, continue to take magnesium, then her blood pressure was already improving, and it'll continue to improve. But I think a lot of people have great strife with their doctors where they're trying to wean off their drugs, and it's like almost as a concession. This person was saying, well, maybe if I go on a less dangerous drug, my doctor, won't fire me. So this is kind of the sticky path that we walk because, as I've mentioned before, and I'll keep mentioning, doctors don't think people with heart disease or on heart disease medications they don't think they get better, and therefore, since they aren't getting better, they have to keep taking their drugs, but the doctors don't take into any consideration that the drugs they're taking are going to be causing more magnesium deficiency and more potential heart disease. Let me just go to the next one then. This person actually was saying that she's a diabetic, and on all the complement formulas that her blood sugar readings are improving. She's taking less and less insulin. And she says it has to be the RNA drops. She's saying, I'm assuming that this miraculous blood sugar drop is a result of your RNA drop. So in the midst of her being on medications, having side effects with the medications, having to kind of shuffle around her medications, her blood sugar is improving. She said, I was brave with my Death by Modern Medicine book. Just the title alone was scary. Someone says, I continue to listen to you and Ginny and Bob on Monday. I love it. I've gradually built up, I started the products August 2014, take 2 teaspoons of Remag, 2 of Relight, sipped in 8 cups of water throughout the day, along with 1 teaspoon of Himalayan salt, starting Realign and RNA drops as of September 8th. And I did have some detox symptoms on and off, but that seems all gone now. So that is good. So this is what I like. People who they know that when they're on these supplements that are so pure, they get right into their cells, and yes, they're complements, they're not supplements, that they go through some shifting, and it may be detox or it may just be shifting. She's saying, unfortunately, my irregular heartbeat is still being stubborn, still persists. There are times when it's perfect, but still frequently irregular, and the skipping varies. My heart is not sped up like it used to be. Seems a lot quieter. Do I have any suggestions? So she's on 2 teaspoons of Remag with those symptoms still persisting. I personally would be taking 3 and 4 teaspoons. I'm taking between 2 and 3, and often these days it's 3. And if you do 2 Realign a day, you'll get 1,000 milligrams of taurine, which is very supportive of the heart. And this person also had yeast overgrowth. And see, what can happen with some people is they can get rid of a lot of symptoms with the Remag, and then it's like the focus of the body turns to trying to deal with yeast overgrowth, and then the yeast becomes predominant, and then you have to go after the yeast because the yeast toxins can also stir up the heart. So in the end, she says, I'm feeling a lot of benefits. My energy is way better. I really don't feel tired during the day. I'm sleeping well and soundly. I feel calmer and happier. My hair seems thicker, softer, and shinier. Friends say I look really healthy, and I think I do too. So it's just a matter of her require more magnesium and to focus a bit on killing off her yeast. So I thought that was a great overview of a lot of different problems and situations. Will I continue with the mailbag, Ginny?
Yes, and we have also, I just wanted to let you know that Susanna sent me a private email. She said, I just wanted to give you and Dr. Dean an update. I had called into Carolyn's show a couple months ago, very excited with the news that after a 5-year hiatus from running, I could run a mile with absolutely no adverse effects, no soreness, no extreme fatigue, no joint pain, during or after. All this manifested on the very first run, and I felt for the first time that quote-unquote runner's high that is so talked about. I have not continued the running. I didn't feel like it, but now I'm participating in a yoga class. I am amazed at how flexible my body is. how much stamina I have, how well I'm able to hold balance, pose, and could do all these things during the very first class, which was an hour and a half long and very intense. Afterwards, I had no soreness ever. In fact, I've never needed to recuperate after any one of my classes. The instructor was also very impressed. Since I had never done yoga before, I had tried a beginner class. I know, right? Isn't that great? I had tried a beginner class about 5 years ago, but had to stop minutes after the class began due to pain. Not this time. Now I delight in all the feats my body can accomplish with every yoga pose. Thank you, Dr. Dean, Bob, JW, and Ion, for all of the complement formulas. I take them all every day without fail or exception when I remember.
Wow, now that's something, Susanna. And yes, it was supposed to be private, but we won't give your last name. Even if we knew it, we wouldn't give your last name.
That's right, which we don't know it. But there we go. Yeah, I thought that was very sweet. Very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good little mailbag. But I wanted to get it in. You know, sometimes people write in and they want to hear their things on the radio. So there we go.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So the next mailbag is, I want to thank you for all your help and the improvement I've seen now up to 2¼ teaspoons of Remag, 1½ teaspoons of Relight, also Realign, and the Candida Cleanse formula. Upped my water intake. The anxiety attacks have stopped. I'm sleeping better, although I'm still with the Xanax, but better. My doctor advised me to cut my Armour thyroid in half. Also, blood pressure has gone to normal. Now, that's great because the Relight will be supporting the thyroid, and you won't need as much Armour thyroid. She's taking Dexalent. That's a protein pump inhibitor, I think. Yes. She wakes up with horrible acid in her throat and has to take half of one. So then I looked up Dexalent, and it has 3 fluoride molecules. So I emailed her, and I said, yeah, I'm afraid it's got fluoride molecules, so it's going to be using up your magnesium. And I told her to go to the safe licorice, DGL licorice, and take that, chewing 1 to 2 before meals. And I found it works just as well as the protein pump inhibitors. So that was an interesting email where she's cutting back her thyroid medication. Her anxiety attacks have stopped, even though she's still taking a drug that could be draining her. So this woman is definitely on her way. Another one is I'm writing to you because I overdid it in 2 days in a row this weekend. Ate bad foods at a family function, got diarrhea, and then began to have asthma-like symptoms on the way home. So the diarrhea was draining her magnesium, and asthma symptoms are usually magnesium deficiency. It happened again the next 2 days, and my energy level was down. So instead of emailing me, she went to the doctor who put her back on Singulair, which is allergy medication, of Flonase, which is a corticosteroid, with several fluoride molecules, 3 fluoride molecules in it. And so I said the diarrhea and stress and the Dexalent are using up your magnesium. Asthma is caused by magnesium deficiency, and Flonase has 3 fluoride molecules, so it's draining your magnesium. So it's, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't in a sense, but you really have to look up these medications and see whether they have fluoride in them. And, it would be hard for someone who's been drained of magnesium with diarrhea on 3 medications, and 2 of them have fluoride in them. It's just, sometimes I think it's a losing battle, but one person at a time, we're trying to educate people about the pitfalls of medications. Maybe there's some people who it doesn't affect them, but certainly the people coming to us are are in this majority that I think the medications are draining their magnesium and causing more symptoms. Oh, yeah, this person continues on. Since I've depleted my magnesium levels, what will it take to build back up? And I said, personally, I'd be taking 4 to 5 teaspoons of magnesium to get over the drain. Another mailbag at 3:22. My magnesium just came back from my first requested test at 6.2. Yay! I spent more than a year getting there, been on therapeutic dose of Remag for the last 6 months. May seem obvious, but what's next? Since my score is good, do I scale back to the maintenance or keep going with what's working? Yeah, when this person wrote it that way, I said, yeah, I would keep going with what's working. And what's next? I asked her if she was on Relight, Realign, and RNA drops, because that's what's next. And after that, if you're taking all those, be sure you're listening to Payday and participating in this show and listening to the archives and, being part of your own eternity, because that's what we're interested in is being eternal. Is it eternal? Not immortal. We want to be eternal. Right, Ginny?
Well, we are. We just want to enjoy it. We already are eternal, but we want to have a quality of eternalness in the eternality of our eternalness. Yeah.
We want to understand the implications of applied eternity.
That's right. Implications of applied eternity. Very good, Bob. That's a very good way of saying it. Yeah.
Yeah, how it affects all the assumptions and memes that cultures have given us that get in the way of enjoying your understanding of applying it. That's what Ion does. He's the first communicator to come forth and explain the implications of being eternal. Everybody else just advocates it, or this is it. But what do you do? What does it do for science? What's it do for sports? What's it do for recreation? What's it do for not dying? That's what is new.
Lifestyle, relationship, creativity, employment. It affects everything. It affects everything. Yep, that's absolutely correct. Very good, including health. And, of course, you want to optimize your health, maximize your physicality, as Suzanne is doing and so many others, so that you can maximize your experience. Absolutely.
If there is eternity, then there can be no walls, though there would be regions that have walls, but there would be no walls, and that's why your anomaly factor would become more noticeable.
Yeah, very good.
Yep.
Yes, I can get with that, and I think that let's just even say if there weren't, which of course we know there is because it's just obvious if there is an eternity, at the very least, the life expectancy and quality of life of people now is, incredible. So you want to absolutely have maximum function. Body mind.
Yep. I'm 1,004 years old. I just got to get rid of this nonsense that I was born in 1922. I mean, that's some cultural thing my parents gave me. But I said the deep Bob, like deep web, the deep web Bob is 1,004 years old.
1,004. I wonder how old the deep web Ginny is.
I'll check with Ion.
I'll have to check with Ion.
Well, you were eternal. You're billions of years now. The deep web Bob is some subset of an even deeper Bob. I mean, I don't know what that's a less depressed Bob, the 1,004, compared to the guy who got born in 1922. You know what I mean? The subsets of subsets, which can happen in eternity because a million realities can happen because there's no beginning and no end.
That's right. It's kind of like Lake Tahoe. It's just never-ending bottomlessness of depth and layers, and very good. Yep.
Yeah.
So this section is going to be labeled, Ginny, maximize your experience with eternity.
There you go. Very good. Maximize your experience with eternity. Very good.
Fantastic.
Hey, Carolyn, how about Mr. and Mrs. Eternity, your real parents?
Oh, stop it.
No, they are your real parents. You're a product of eternity.
Yep, got it. Will I go on to dosing cats with Remag and Relight, or do we have a phone call?
Let's see. Do we have a call? Hitting *5 on the keypad if you have a question or comment for Dr. Dean at 602-666-6027. *5 on the keypad, and I don't see any activity right now. Everybody's just all nestled in their Arctic temperatures that are coming in for winter time. Yeah, and so, okay, very good. Let's keep going.
Okay, so I was corresponding with someone who's trying to dose their cat, Bentley. He's a fat little boy, about 10 to 12 pounds. Now, this is a cat. This is a pussy cat. He gets 5 drops of Relight and 3 drops of Remag once a day in his tasty food with gravy. We worked up to that. If he's picky about his food that day, the stray cats get it. His coat is now beautiful, too. So the dosing for cats and dogs is really just a few drops, and put it in their food or water is the best way to take it. We were going to make a cat and dog product with the RNA drops, but we just tell people to put 1 or 2 RNA drops in their water, put a few drops of Relight and Remag, and you'll find that they'll gravitate to that water. You know, they'll show you they like it. We have a video actually on their RNA Reset website where a pussycat from Australia goes right to her owner's glass of Remag water and just laps it for minutes at a time.
Mia the cat. That's right.
Mia the cat. That's right.
Okay, now,
yes.
Well, Carolyn, we did have some a brave person waving their hand and wanting to talk to you. Shall we talk with them?
Yes, let's go ahead. That'd be wonderful.
Okay. Area code 949, you're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Go ahead, please, with your question or comment. Be sure to tell us your name.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on.
I didn't hear the number that you mentioned, but I have a question about the Remag. As a vegan, I noticed there's if I'm pronouncing it correctly, niacin in it. And
Not anymore.
Oh. Okay, and I didn't know, it says it's fermented using, I know it's not anymore, but it does say it's fermented using milk or dextrose. And
well, it wasn't, but, you know, everybody's the Google expert these days, and they come up with all kinds of reasons why to critique something, but it's changed to ascorbic acid, so nobody has to be offended by it anymore.
Well, I just want to know if it's vegan, the Remag.
Yes.
And does it state that anywhere on it, or are you just telling me that?
Well, do you recall, Ginny, what the manufacturer said about the ascorbic acid? It's from black ash or something?
Yeah, I had to go through this with another. Not that it's bad, no problem. We're happy to answer the questions. I just had to go clicking through and find it for somebody else earlier today. But the Remag is definitely vegan, and we've got certificates and different things. And if you want to email me at support, SUPPORT, at RNA Reset, I will send you all the statements about it. Happy to do that.
Okay, support at, again?
RNAreset.com.
Okay.
Yep.
And I have a follow-up question regarding Remag. I'm assuming that it's to help lower the blood pressure as well?
Well, it's not a drug in the sense that we give it to lower blood pressure, but that's one of the things that magnesium can accomplish is it relaxes the smooth muscles in the arteries, so it will lower high blood pressure in people who take it.
Okay, I was on nifedipine, and about 5 days ago I decided to stop it. And of course I had a spike on my blood pressure, and I went to this Institute for Progressive Medicine, and the doctor there told me that my blood pressure in the 140s and 150s is fine. Do you agree with that?
I don't know. I don't know your weight. I don't know your age. I don't know anything about you.
Oh, okay. Well, do you need statistics to answer the question then?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a little resistant to. There's something about the way you're questioning that I'm a little resistant to answer you.
Oh, I just thought you'd have an opinion about blood pressure and what is considered normal these days for different ages. I'm 75.
Right. So with an age of 75, what can happen is there will be a little bit of toughening and tightening and even calcification of the blood vessels, which means the blood pressure will be a little elevated, and rightly so, in order to get the blood to the brain. If you take an elderly person, 80, especially in their 80s and 90s, and you try to get 140/90 blood pressure down to, a kid's 120/80, you'll make them dizzy and faint. They won't get blood to their head, and they'll fall and break a hip. So, yeah, you have to be very considerate of an older person's blood pressure.
Oh, okay. All right. Just thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on achieveradio.com. If you have a question or comment for Dr. Dean, 602-666-6027. Of course, Brian in Boston, Massachusetts is now our new resident comedian, Carolyn. He says, I don't have any hair, and it seems to be thicker and softer and shinier now.
He's taking so many RNA drops, he just doesn't know what to do with himself.
That's
Tell
right.
him to come on payday. Tell him to come on payday if he wants to. Yeah, if he wants to play and have fun. He's always looking for people to keep him up through the 16 hours of the show.
That's right, Brian. So reaching out to the galaxies after listening to Bob, and you can get on payday and chitty chat with him. Very good. All right, Carolyn, let's go back to our mailbag and see what other treasures we have for people this evening.
Yes.
Yep. Mailbag back. Go back to mailbag.
Yeah, my phone does this strange thing every once in a while. So. Someone is writing that. Just a quick note to put one more deserved coat of polish on your halo. Well, that's just not going to happen. This person says, with my AFib, I've read that we have 5 times more of a chance for a stroke or heart attack. I even had the electric therapy for it. It stopped the AFib, but of course it came back. And this is the dilemma with atrial fibrillation, and me saying that magnesium can treat atrial fibrillation. The UK Society for Arrhythmia Society gave me the award for my work with heart palpitations and magnesium, because what the doctor will tell you is there's a chance of, if the fibrillation is allowed to continue, that you can have a blood clot. Now, I don't even know the percentages. I keep trying to find, how many, because it's so hard to figure out. They don't have really any in-depth studies to show people on anticoagulants if it stops them from having strokes, or if does that balance out with the people who are on anticoagulants and have a major hemorrhage where, they have a brain hemorrhage and that kills them. So it's very dicey, and with that type of push-pull with the strong medications on either end of this treatment scale, that's where I say doctors really should get on board with giving people magnesium and trying to overcome their atrial fibrillation instead of continuing to scare them with incomplete statistics about what will happen if they don't take it. the people who should supposedly take anticoagulants if they get atrial fibrillation, it's listed in the medical books. But let me just say this first, that one of my clients said the other day when, and I might have read it on the show, that when he and his, I think it was late 60s, early 70s, went to his doctor and said, my heart goes into this, jumping around every once in a while. What can I do about it? And the doctor said, oh, that's really common in someone your age. So it's like, oh, everybody gets it. And then, when it gets to be more symptomatic, then all of a sudden everybody who gets it is going to be put on a blood thinner. But the people who are at stroke risk with atrial fibrillation are people with congestive heart failure, high blood pressure, 75 years or older, diabetes, and a previous stroke. So what I see happening is people in their 60s with absolutely none of these factors being automatically put on anticoagulants. And I can't tell them not to. It's not my place. I'm very hesitant, like with the previous gentleman who didn't identify himself. And, I didn't want to start giving, throwing out advice that would be misconstrued to someone I know nothing about. So with this stroke risk, congestive heart failure, do you have it or don't you? High blood pressure, and which is a magnesium deficiency symptom right there. Are you over 75? Do you have diabetes? Diabetes, one of the signs of diabetes is low magnesium. And have you had a previous stroke? So it's an important set of statistics that I think people really aren't made aware of. Their doctor just says, oh, you have AFib. Oh, you have to go on anticoagulant. And then they'll, kind of scare you into taking it. So that's kind of a rant. Did you like that?
I did like that, and I liked, definitely pointing out the part about, people do call in to the show, and I do think that we do that as a service, and sometimes, it is challenging to give out the best information without putting yourself at risk. So very well done, Carolyn. Very well done. Yep.
Mm-hmm. An age 74-year-old man said, without one trace of heart problems, he was put on eye drops for glaucoma, and he took them for 5 years, and he thought they damaged his heart. When he started Googling about them, he realized that they could cause atrial fibrillation. Then he said he did online research, found my book, got off the eye drops, started taking magnesium, and his atrial fibrillation went away. So there.
Very cool.
Yeah. Someone wrote in, well, this was after, it looks like this was after I wrote about anticoagulants in some form. I don't know exactly. It was the Pradaxa. I was writing about the woman who wrote Barbara Starfield, I think her name is. She wrote about the iatrogenic deaths in medicine, and I quoted her in Death by Modern Medicine. And all of a sudden she died of a brain hemorrhage because she'd been put on a combination of blood thinners when she had no risk factors, and her doctor husband wrote a very scathing article about it in a medical journal. And so a woman writes in that she was flabbergasted because her husband nearly died of a brain hemorrhage from 5 years of Plavix plus aspirin, and the doctors where she took him in, and some of them said he should never have been put on them, and he's still suffering the effects of that. someone here talking about been on Remag for at least a year, consuming half a drop or twice a day, spraying magnesium chloride on shoulders and calves in the morning, soaking feet in magnesium chloride oil half an hour at night, taking Relight as well, taking some nascent iodine twice a day, strict diet. And then she says she has plantar fasciitis and she's tired, has tired, weak, aching muscles in back and hips, otherwise healthy. What can be causing these muscle problems? And the fact that she has a little reserve energy and tires quickly. Answer in bold letters, not taking enough Remag. I mean, half a drop or twice a day, I mean, that's at most half a teaspoon. That's not even maintenance. So for someone who's trying to get rid of fasciitis, obviously taking it externally in chloride form, then magnesium chloride oils isn't giving her enough. And I would tell her to do magnesium RBC blood test and see how much she really is absorbing, and then really increase the amount to saturate. So that's interesting. You know, a lot of people, I'm taking the Remag, but then you really have to be taking enough of it. And people just seem so deficient. It is amazing. Someone said yesterday morning, I took my first dose of Remag and Relight. I was in such a rush, I consumed about 1/3 of a capful of each directly from the respective bottle. Within 20 minutes, I began to feel quite upset mentally, more like an episode of depression. Also, I have quite intrusive tinnitus, which also significantly increased in intensity. Both these conditions continued into late evening and only slept for 4 hours. Today, the following day, the emotional distress seems not to be very noticeable. Tinnitus remains. Should this return to baseline? Presently, I'm consuming more water. So, yeah, what we've got again is somebody who's, I get a little sharp with her and said, all my Remag label, all my written materials advise people to begin very slowly for the body to adjust to magnesium. Also to drink more water and eat new sea salt to build up other minerals. And read about when magnesium makes me worse. Tinnitus is often from calcium buildup, and magnesium job is to help solubilize the calcium in the soft tissue. The stirring up that occurs with the minerals will go away, and if you take the minerals slowly, you should not have reactions. So it's, when people take vitamins and minerals, they think there shouldn't be any side effects yet. You know, people will think nothing of taking half a dozen drugs, and they know they have side effects, but they've been told so many times by their doctors, oh, no, that's just your imagination. You don't really have side effects. So they don't think about it.
So, Carolyn, I say part of medicine, medical advice should include sociology and explanations of what's going on, because you're up against factors that make people think completely differently than what you grew up with and other factors. So we'll be looking forward to your column addressing these other factors that explain why people are crazy in relation to understanding normal procedures. Why would they worry about vitamins and not worry about the drug programming they go through? See,
I just told you. They've been brainwashed by doctors to think that they're wrong, that they should ignore their own symptoms.
The idea of brainwashing is an obsolete situation. They're being controlled, influenced by something else. People do not have brains to be washed. They really are operating with 4 bodies, 5 bodies, so there's other factors going on. I think it's counter to whatever they're told. People are overreacting to the idea they were brainwashed and not listening. It's a battle against authority constantly, and authority images have changed. So this is something that needs to be worked on later.
Well, I've written about it in Death by Modern Medicine. the chapter called Death by Media, which Bob wrote mostly, because I haven't got a clue.
That's true. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Acknowledging my work.
Bob keeps trying to turn me into a Bob Jr.
Yes, I think it's required. We need a Bob Sr. No, the people are reacting differently now, for all kinds of factors.
Oh yeah,
but this is what the drops are for, Bob, because we do know that there is a biological reality to the need for minerals in the body. That's what Remag and Relight do. We know that there's a biological reality to the the amino acids. That's what Realign does. There is also a biological reality to the environment, which has been pointed out through epigenetics, and we know that there are a lot of factors to this multi-bodied world that we live in and all the things that impinge on us that we're not aware of. And dissecting that and vetting that out is what Payday is about. I mean, as you know, Brian from Boston, Massachusetts asked, what is Payday? Does Bob have his own show? I'm like, oh, my gosh.
Brian. Woohoo, you're in for a treat. Oh, my gosh. Tell him.
Brian.
Well, he did post something about it. He's already intuited and he went to the galaxies. He just posted that he's already transported to many galaxies.
That's right.
Tell them when Payday is, Bob.
I have no idea. There's no time. Payday always happens.
It's on Saturday evenings, Brian, here at Achieve Radio. Begins at 5 p.m. Pacific, which is 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And Bob does...
No, Brian. Payday is happening now. There are 2 years of archives and more. Email me at ion@howionic.com, and I'll give you all the archives, because they are now. You don't need to hear next week's Payday. Listen to all the ones that are happening, streaming right now. Thanks,
oh, dear. Poor Brian.
Yeah, poor Brian, exactly. Bob's got a newbie.
Yeah, okay, Ginny. The biological point is interesting, but it's getting people to getting the RNA drops and relax and allow about taking it and accepting the effects. It's this preliminary, people getting them out of their seat belts, their safety belts, and all this crazy stuff they're strapped into. That's the communication problem today, because Carolyn says, if you actually look at what's going on, we're losing. Well, that's because our perception needs to change about what the people are going through and why they're like they are. They don't care about information anymore. They don't want to hear any more advice, so you got to begin there. That's why you have to be a nut on Payday, even to get any attention to point out something. Then you bring on the fireside chats with Dr. Dean, and then you get something communicated. But it's really a complicated situation today. And you will get depressed if you don't understand what we're up against.
That's correct, but that's the beauty of the drops, is that because they do work on the 99% of you that's not necessarily organized, the human genome, targeting cell replication, targeting that cell nucleus, bringing forth new information from the RNA to the DNA through chromosome 14, they get to actually have the advantage of not having to vet out and tease out every single, thought form or aspect that's impinging on their world, that they can actually release all that and let the drops do the dirty work, and just start to relax and allow and enjoy their bodies and their experiences without having to be paranoid, as you've pointed out so many times, Bob.
Well, we are getting to those people to find out about the drops.
Getting to what people?
I'm talking about the people who don't know about the drops. Yeah, all that happens if they get to the drops. Yes. But it's this world of information that's deflecting people away from even knowing that there are drops.
I see. Very good. Yes, we will have to drill down further and get to those people. How would we get to them, Bob?
No problem.
Ion said, we got you.
We got it. We got their ankles.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Ion's got their ankle and their forehead and their ears and their nose
their
and
back.
everything else.
Yeah.
Their back. Very good.
Okay, 3 more mailbags. We might finish off this week. This will be incredible. Someone says, this might be on an Amazon review. This book is amazing. This is Magnesium Miracle. This book saved my life when doctors couldn't find what was wrong with me. Thank you for writing this book. I bought so many copies to give to my friends and family. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yes, this with the holiday season coming up, you're going to use Complete Med Formulas and the Magnesium Miracle Book as your gifts this season. If you want people to stay healthy, wealthy, and well.
Wise. That's right.
Oh, wise. That seriously, this is what you give people. None of this. What can you give them otherwise? A bunch of sugar, some fancy underwear. I mean, what do people give these days that means anything?
Sugar and
fancy
underwear. No foundational garments, Carolyn.
No foundational garments, exactly.
That's right.
Now, the last two questions, actually, these ones just came in today, and they're a little bit off topic, but someone's saying, I eat according to the latest information on what's good. Well, we don't know what's good. It really does depend because the diets are getting so restrictive. And to prevent gas forming, I take probiotics and enzymes but still experience gas. Well, the RNA drops really do help with the prebiotic, probiotic, and making new cells. Remag and Relight get around a gas-forming gut. It could be some extra yeast overgrowth. The probiotics on top of RNA drops, Prescript Assist work the best. Enzymes should have hydrochloric acid in them. I use the KAL brand super enzymes. So there's a few little layers there. I talk about that in my Future Health Now encyclopedia. But it's an experiment. What you could do is go on a couple of days of just juice fast, green fast, but that's what I would do. I guess I can't tell you to do that because I don't know anything about you, but you avoid a lot of the gassy things and then take a whole bunch of them and see if they make you gassy to determine exactly what it is that's causing symptoms. The last mailbag is from someone who's saying they have a 48-year-old brother recently diagnosed with ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. What do you think causes this, and what can he do to stop or slow or heal this condition? Declining rapidly. I've already sent him Remag and Relight. I'd say the RNA drops for these conditions that they really don't know what causes them. Something like amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, I'd look it up in my total biology and see if I took any notes on that. Lou Gehrig, my teacher treated it in some people. I guess what I would do is I don't have specific story on what ALS is caused by in a total biology sense, but this is where if someone came to me with that condition, I'd refer them on to Dr. David Holt, Holt, and he's a medical doctor that specializes in telephone consultations using total biology, and he's at turnpointhealth.com. And part of the thing with neuromuscular conditions, it can be minerals, because minerals are the structure and function of the body. But in neuromuscular, you have to look at is there some interruption of the movement in their life that then is reflected in their muscles and nerves. And that's just a very general statement, but that's the type of thing that Dr. Holt would explore with his clients. So that's the end of the mailbag. Can we go home now?
Very good. That is excellent, excellent. Well, we will go home as soon as we say that Michelle in Colorado in Quickton, Carolyn, and said, just wanted to say thank you, Dr. Dean, Ginny, and Bob, for another fantastic, fascinating show tonight. I am going to listen to Bob on payday, all the archives too. Thank you. Love you all. And Brian in Boston says, please tell them, Ginny, I plan on leaving this galaxy to visit the next one, and I will tell them about RNA. Very good. Very good. There we go. Promoters in all galaxies, all parts, north, south, east, and west. Very good. Yes, the RNA drops are fabulous. Well, excellent show, Carolyn. Thank you so much for everything, and thank you for your generosity. You really do make a huge difference for people, and the formulas are amazing, but your special touch is what really sends them to the moon. So thank you again so much, and thank you, Bob, for your great contribution tonight. Anything else we want to say?
No, it's beautiful. Maybe we'll get to hear Dave's song throughout because we always end so late. But thank you, Ginny. You're an incredible host on this show. I really appreciate you. And thank you, Bob. You did not have to be muted even once today. So it was very helpful.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Dr.
Oh, my God.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. All right, everybody, this has been Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. You can get the archive at drcarolyndeanlive.com. Until next week, thanks, everybody. Enjoy your week.
Bye. Bye, Ginny.
Bye, Bob. Bye, Bob. Bye, Bill.
Very good. Very good.